Welcome, everyone, to the Sonoma Spiel. My name is Tim with the Sonoma Valley Visitors Bureau. Today, I took a leak, and I put it, here it is. I put it on the scale, and then I got some collard greens, and I put it on the scale, and I said to Jimmy the pumpkin guy at the farmer's market, I said, hey, what do I owe you? Jimmy said, hey, it's a couple bucks. I got that. Went and talked to the fermentation lady, got a cup of coffee, had a good time at the farmer's market. It is apropos that even though I always go to the farmer's market on most Fridays, that today I have a very special guest. I know every week I say I have a very special guest. This time I actually mean it. This time I actually mean it. This is a man who has literally written books about food. He took me on an amazing culinary tour of Sonoma County many years ago when we were both a little bit younger. He's a restaurant specialist. He has a radio show. He's been on podcasts, not any good ones except for this one. And he is such a very special guest this time. I do actually mean it. Hi, Clark Wolf. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm really happy. I love to be on this side of the county. This is one of my favorite places in the world. In fact, I think Sonoma the town, that's what I call it, all hyphens.
Sonoma the town.
Sonoma the town. I think this is the first place I really visited when I came to Sonoma County from San Francisco. I grew up in Southern California, lived in San Francisco in the 70s with a lot of hair all the way down, all the way at the top.
And it still looks great. It looks amazing.
Listen, I have some of it in a baggie, but that's another story. And I came up to Sonoma the town. I was running a cheese and wine shop at the base of Nob Hill for some nice people.
Okay.
And I wanted to come up and meet one of the great masters of American cheesemaking and world cheesemaking.
Right.
And so I got to meet the legendary Ig Vella.
Oh, yeah, we named a bridge after him.
As you should name rename the whole town. Vellaville.
Welcome to
Oh,
Vellaville.
I like that. Vellaville.
Ooh, Vellaville.
No, don't do that.
Okay.
Anyway, so I had the Oakville grocery. I did a little cheese shop, then I did the Oakville grocery, redoing the one in the Napa Valley, and then doing a fancy one in 1980 in San Francisco, where we brought arugula to California. Who'd have thunk? I got stories. But then when I moved to New York City in 82, I was doing some stuff, and I did do a book about cheese for Simon & Schuster called American Cheeses.
American Cheeses.
Sometimes people got that confused and thought I was a religious kind of a person.
Right, that's right. That's right. Bless you.
Yeah. So
And Brie as well.
And I came back because I was working on the book, and we're talking about 17 years later, after moving to New York or whatever it was. And I come up in front of the Vella Cheese Factory, and Ig is sweeping.
Okay.
And I just walk up quietly, and without looking up, he says, "So how have you been?" You know what I mean? Like 17 years I hadn't seen him.
That's right. Yeah. He's like, oh, where you been?
You know, and so I want to say that at the end of that conversation, at which point, during which we got weepy a couple of times because I really loved what he did, and he knew that.
Right.
He gave me a 7-year-old wheel of dry jack.
Oh, well, come on.
Oh, my
That's
gosh.
how people show love up here.
Oh, my gosh.
A 7-year-old dry
If you could have mounted it in platinum.
on a ring.
I might be wearing it today.
Walking around.
I actually shared it. But I mean, and then we talked about, I told him what cheeses were being made and what cheeses weren't being made. And so he went back to what is the one, I call it Montasio because that's what the Italians do, but he called it something else. They'd been making a table cheese for many years and then stopped. And he started making it again, and his raw milk cheddar and all the rest. And excuse me, I love Sonoma the town.
Hold on, Clark. That was, by the way, take a glass of water because that was the longest introduction we've had yet for a podcast host. And I know the podcast is over, so thanks for stopping by.
Joining us, exactly.
Clark, let's start from the beginning.
Do we have 7 days?
No. Where were you born, Clark?
I'm a Valley boy.
Okay.
I was born in the San Fernando Valley. I was Deborah Winger's youth group leader.
I know. This is not true.
And many years later,
Right.
after one of her parents passed, we got together in New York City. We hadn't seen each other in years. And we were both kind of nervous because I had a very high-end, high-profile restaurant.
Okay.
And I was in the newspapers all the time in New York City. It was a thing. It was,
Okay.
And she was Deborah Winger.
Right.
And we had this conversation. And at the end of it, she said, "That went pretty well, didn't it?" Like she had said in her famous Shirley MacLaine movie that I can't remember.
Help me out
right
here.
now,
One
where
of
she
them.
died of cancer.
Yeah. Oh, that was so sad.
Oh my gosh! And where she tells the kids, and we had the same conversation, only it was over lunch. Anyway,
Clark.
this is your kid.
My
Oh
son,
God, Tim with
my
hair.
son has just walked in.
Tim.
Sit right here. Sit right here. Say hi to Clark Wolf.
You too.
Sit
He's
down for a
much better
second.
looking than you are.
Sit down. Let's see if your mic's on. Is your mic on? Sit down. Just sit down. Did you? You didn't even know you were going to be on a podcast, did you?
No.
Okay.
Nobody tells you anything.
I'm working right now.
I know you're working. I know you're working. So you brought me some. Yeah, he brought some potato chips.
Let me see.
Yeah, look at these. Seth, what did you bring in?
So these are our heirloom potato chips.
No, they're heirloom potato chips. Not heirloom potato chips.
Good job,
I don't
Seth.
really want old chips.
Right.
I want chips from old varieties of potatoes, right?
They're fresh. There's 8 different kinds of potatoes in there. 3 ingredients: potatoes, organic rice bran oil, and salt. It started, me and my boss got an extra shipment of potatoes when we do a catering company, and we decided to make chips. And people loved them. And now 10% of the profits actually go to our nonprofit to clean up the San Francisco Bay Area. We're in a bunch of stores ranging from Sonoma County, San Francisco, East Bay.
Okay.
I love so much. It says packaged with plants. That's how I want to be buried. I want to be packaged with plants.
It's a compostable bag.
There you go. And you have some really organic, non-GMO, Bodega Reds,
Slow food certified.
Purple Majesty, all blue, garnet, yam, red. I mean, oh my God. And made in Katati.
Yeah.
Made in Katati. I make them. I sit there.
You make them. Let me see your fingernails.
He's got most of them.
Yeah.
What's the name of the company again?
Planetary potato chips, because it goes to benefit the planet, and they're out of this world.
And why are you in Sonoma right now?
Dropping chips off. I'm in college, but I have to pay for college.
Does Mom know that you're
No, I don't think Mom knows I'm here.
Can I open this?
Yeah. This is your guys to try.
please,
Please eat them.
I will go to any podcast
Eat it
where
right
they
now.
feed me.
Right now.
Oh my gosh! Listen, that's exciting. Look, this is one of the things, and I don't have any opinions. You know this, Tim. This is one of the things about Sonoma State University and the mess that it's in right now. All I can think of is there ought to be classes in artisan food making. There ought to be classes in California ag history.
Yeah.
We should be telling the Ig Vella story. We should be talking about how Bodega Bay is and Spuds Point is based on the fact that we used to bring the barges up to Spuds Point and load spuds.
Potatoes.
We have grown if you're concerned about the wine industry, which I mean, we always care about the people who are making a living here.
Right.
Those are farmers first. We just celebrated 22 families who have been farming for 100 years.
Yeah.
If we don't have that many grapes, we might have some more hops, some more apples, some more potatoes. I mean,
Diversified agriculture, right?
But
Not
what
being
I love
monoculture.
about it is that high value, high quality,
Right.
high nutrition.
So Seth, you're the distribution guy for these chips as Clark opens these up. You drive around and drop these off
Pretty
at different stores, and you drop them off at Sonoma's Best.
Sonoma's Best, Sonoma Cheese Factory. Here
Oh,
in
really? Sonoma Cheese Factory. Okay. And then, Mr. Wolf here is a famous cheese connoisseur and author, and he's also a restaurant. He helps restaurants put together their concepts, and that was his background. Yeah.
I also I'm on 3 radio stations here in Northern California, one of which is an NPR station, and I would love to know more about this because on KSRO, I talk about what's going on this week and what's going on that's more commercial. On NPR, of course, it's NPR, so we are a little bit gentler, and it's a little bit...
A little more chamomile, a little more tote bag.
And a little bit tra-la-la. No, I mean, we are more thoughtful. It's more personal. It's more, in-depth and cultural and all that stuff. And then I've been on with Steve Jackson on The Drive, and now he's on The Crush on 95.5, and I've been on with him live for 17 years. I just keep following him around and telling him to sit down and leave me alone and let me tell you about cheese or something else. But that's not my work. My work is, and this is interesting to me for another reason, restaurant consulting, anything to do with food service, food business development. But lately, the last few years, I've been doing marketplaces, kind of grab and go coffee bar markets in Hilton hotels primarily, all over the country. I'm telling we got the Urban Kitchen, spell it the way it's cute.
Right.
In fact, the hotel where they shot the president of United Healthcare.
Oh, yeah.
In
New York?
Luigi,
Yeah.
That little market there, I got up to $15 million a year. It's about 1,200 square feet.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's kind of, and I'm working on the Renaissance Times Square, which is got a glass room that overlooks Times Square where the ball drops.
Right.
On the 3rd floor. Oh my gosh!
So you bring these concepts to these hotels.
And then
like
they
their
hire
little
me to
grab
help
and go
them do it.
markets for like
Exactly.
higher end because it used to be you'd go to like the Hampton Inn and Suites and you would get potato chips that were like been there for a dubious amount of time.
Yeah.
And then like a bad candy bar.
Well, and a lot of places still have that kind of. I don't let them sell any Frito-Lay, bless their hearts. I don't. None of that ultra processed. There's a lot of artisan food out there,
Right.
And it's really good. And people also can't always afford to go to the restaurant. The restaurant can't always afford to have a restaurant.
True.
You know what I mean? And for many years, restaurants and hotels were lost leaders.
Yeah.
And they lost money to bring people in. You can't do that anymore. Everything costs way too much,
Right.
and people would rather go up and grab a sandwich or a salad or a coffee and a bag of heirloom.
Potato chips.
Really earth-friendly potato chips. Did I do that well?
Yeah, that was good. That
Going
was good.
door to door.
You're hired, Clark. That's the way it is. So do you still have more time? You have to run to your next
I have
job.
a few more minutes.
A few more minutes. Okay. When you have to leave, let us know.
Okay.
Because this is what I do all day. You always ask me when you were younger, like, Dad, what do you do at work?
Yeah.
You're looking at it right now. This is what I do.
Not always with potato chips, but always with something good to eat nearby.
That's right. I'm actually drinking a power smoothie from Sonoma Market.
There you go.
So I forgot to have lunch.
All right, well, I should mention that I could not come over to this side of the county, which I love very much, without stopping where I always stop when I'm anywhere near here.
Go.
El Molino Central is some of the best food anywhere.
It's fabulous.
I don't mean
Right.
this side. I don't mean Mexico. I mean some of the best food
Anywhere.
anywhere.
Look at that.
Anywhere. It's based on the recipes of a dead woman, of a woman named whose name I'll remember in a minute.
I
but
guess all recipes eventually are.
there you go. An English woman. I can't remember her name
Okay,
right now.
it's okay.
Senior my hard drive is really full, but she was an English woman that moved to Mexico. And
really?
all
Okay.
over Mexico. Diana Kennedy.
Okay.
Went all over Mexico and learned the local, regional, personal recipes
Got it.
and
Okay.
preserved them.
Okay.
And I'm not saying rip off. This
Right.
is not Paula Deen going down to the south and stealing things. And Mexico has given her many, many awards while she
Right,
was alive.
right.
They really appreciate. So one of her disciples owns
The El Molino Central?
and
Which
it's
is in the
just-
Sonoma Springs area.
There's just no way that I will
fabulous.
ever go down this road without stopping.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I love that place, but I'm also gonna bring you to Sonoma Eats, which is down the street.
I don't
'Cause
mind
I think
at all.
Ephraim's killing it with his Oaxacan food, and his wife Haley is from Maine, and she makes the best baked goods. So it's funny in the morning you can get like delicious baked goods,
Right.
And then Oaxacan food. I'm gonna throw it to you, quick, Seth. What's your favorite restaurant by your school? Go, quick. Any restaurant. You go there. You got $20. Where you going? Go. Clark probably already knows it. Go.
$20, you better give him 30.
It's $30.
What year do you think?
He's
this
in the
is?
East Bay. Where do you go?
East Bay, there is, cheap.
Yeah, college food. College food. You're a
there's
college kid.
Super Burger burgers.
Yeah.
No, Super Duper Burgers. Sorry.
Super
Yeah.
duper.
Super Duper Burgers is really good. Classic. Really good shakes there.
Okay.
Late night stuff.
Do they still have that hot dog place, Top Dog? Is that still a thing in Berkeley?
That's San Francisco.
Top dog. No, Top Dog's in Berkeley.
Really?
Top Dog's in
Oh my
Berkeley.
gosh.
That's good. That's like $5. That's beautiful. Football game, $5.
What? There's no Costco? Come on.
Yeah, you got to go to
That's
Richmond.
a fucking
Costco. Well, Richmond has El Panzon tacos.
See,
Okay.
there you go.
And those are good. Those are good.
What town do you live in?
I live in Berkeley right
Yeah,
now.
okay, where?
Southside Berkeley. So,
All right, so I used to live in Berkeley many years ago. I've lived everybody. And Berkeley, besides, my first meal at Chez Panisse was on an overturned garbage
Okay.
can in the kitchen.
Seth, you should really know
I
who
haven't
this
been
guy
to
is.
Shape Fitness
So many stories.
Because
but-
you were part of that whole movement, and you talked about how Alice Waters really was part of the movement to define California cuisine by putting the names of the producers who made the product, like Chanel Chef here in Sonoma, on the menu.
And here's the deal. She was a disciple of a Midwesterner called Richard Olney, who lived in the south of France, who really cared about the seasons. She went to France and came back with that gestalt. Sally Schmidt had a place called the French Laundry in Yountville that
I've heard
Thomas
of it.
bought many years later. Exactly. She really was the first person to start calling it by its name and where it came from. Alice made it popular, but she also integrated the entire thing. So it was. I was a kid. I was running the Oakville Grocery in San Francisco. I was asking people like Alice and like Ruth Reichl, what should we carry? And they would say, how about Italian capers and salt? And okay, how do I would get on the phone and talk. You know what I mean?
How do I do that?
How do I?
I'm from LA. I don't know what's going on.
Exactly. I'm from Hunger. No, I was from Kraft Dinner.
Oh, good for you.
I went to college at San Francisco State University
Okay.
at 19 cents a box.
Wow.
And it really was another Sonoma County classic that changed my life.
What was that?
Dungeness crab was in the newspaper, and it said, take this newspaper and get a Dungeness crab and a hammer and a bottle of Wente Brothers Chenin Blanc.
Okay, well done.
And a baguette of Bourdain sourdough.
Okay.
Pronounced Bourdain.
Yeah, it's just our thing out
unfortunate,
here,
it's not
yeah.
good. And a Eureka lemon, not a Meyer lemon.
Oh.
It needs to be tart.
tart lemon, yeah.
Maybe some mayonnaise, and go to town. And at the end of it, I thought, my mother really couldn't cook.
Seth, would you ever say that?
No, my mom is an excellent. my mom is a fantastic.
Yeah, you would really have to put stop
dad.
record. Yeah.
My dad. No, my dad's a good cook.
I got some pork belly for tonight. Are you coming home tonight, or what are you
No,
doing?
I have to go back to school. My route ends in Berkeley, so
Are you coming back tomorrow?
I will be back home tomorrow to pick up my contacts.
All right, he got contacts.
All right, so there's leftovers for you, mister.
Yeah.
The good kind. Pork is better the next day.
That was good.
We got pork belly
Oh, I
tomorrow.
went out to the Hong Kong lounge for Chinese New Year's.
How was that?
Good. I had pork belly.
Yeah.
I also had like a fish maw soup.
Okay.
That's pretty interesting.
Okay.
And on the other side of the county, you want to keep your eye on the old Jimtown store, which is now owned by Michelle Wood, and she is renaming it when she gets it reopened, Jimtown and then some, S-U-M, because she does something called dim sum and then some.
Oh, there you go.
Because on Asian food in Sonoma County has been kind of hard to come by. There are a couple good spots, but it's nothing like going down to the peninsula or the East Bay.
Well, that's because we have, fewer people here.
Exactly. Hold on one
Right?
second, Clark. I say,
Yeah.
Seth, drive safely. Love you.
Love you too.
I'll see you later.
Thank you.
See you guys later. Enjoy the rest of the bag of chips.
Thank you so much. A chip off the old, never.
Oh, get out of here.
Sorry. Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah.
Drive safely, Seth. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
That was funny. He just texted me like right before we hit record that he's in town.
Okay.
I didn't. worked
Sometimes
out.
children talk to their parents. It's a rare and wonderful
Okay,
occasion.
Clark, this is actually a funny thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how it was with your parents, but I often have to text him to say, you should call mom. And then I'm like, I remember my dad calling me in college saying, now's a good time to call mom. And then just hanging up. Like that was, like he wouldn't say anything else. And so I had to wait like 30 seconds.
All right, so here's the deal.
Yeah.
We didn't text each other when I
Right. I know why.
had parents.
I mean, yeah.
But I will say this, that if I ever did call, and I was the one that called,
Okay.
if I ever did call and he somehow answered the phone, it was, hello, here's your mother.
Oh, really? It's like turned it right over. Just like, here you go.
There you
Well,
go.
Clark, let's go back. Okay, so when last we spoke, when we started, you grew up in L.A., you eventually came to San Francisco, but you said that your mom was not a big cook. Was your dad a big cook?
All right, first of all, my mother was a concert pianist. She was very beautiful and she was very talented. She came to this country at 12 from Moldova, from Chisinau.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was a prodigy. And she did handwork that was unbelievable. She has clothing that she made by hand in the Costume Council at the LA Museum of Art. She sewed for rich ladies, and she was amazing. She made her debut on the stage of the Hollywood Bowl with the Andre Previn Youth Philharmonic at the age of 18 as the featured soloist. Part of it was that she didn't really feel comfortable with the attention.
Okay.
She was very beautiful and mature at a young age, shall we say.
Okay, yeah. So kind of shy.
Yeah, and my
Got a
dad sold.
attraction
And my dad sold hardware.
attention.
My dad was born in Bucharest on the way out of Ukraine in the 20s and moved to Philadelphia and then to Southern California where there was family. They met because my mother was entertaining at the USO at the Hollywood Canteen when my dad was in the Army in the Philippines. And my dad's sister and my mother were pals, and so there was some communication.
So they were both down from Southern California in their certain time.
They ended up in both in Southern California, in the Fairfax area of LA.
But I mean, when your dad met your mom, they didn't know each other. Like you said, I'm sorry, you said that your dad knew your mom's sister.
No, my dad's sister
Sorry.
and my mother went to high school together.
Got it. Okay.
And also volunteered at the USO together.
Got it. Okay.
And so my mom was writing letters to servicemen.
Right.
And Shirley said, write to my brother Izzy.
Okay.
And he was. And forgive me, her name was.
They don't get any better. The jokes don't get any
Her
better.
name was Deli. When she got to Ellis Island, her name was Devoida Bodenstein.
Okay.
She left Deli Bernstein.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, I love this.
It's
okay.
wonderful.
So your mom, Deli,
Yeah.
played piano.
And she was a concert pianist, and she raised roses to make you cry.
Okay.
And in the San Fernando Valley, raised lilacs and camellias and hydrangea.
Well, it's
but she
pretty good
cooked
weather.
everything the way it was done in Eastern Europe until it was gray.
You boil the hell out of it.
Oh my gosh, and it could still be alive. And I remember as a kid, we all would go up to Yosemite. I mean, all the relatives, cousins, and people who we thought were cousins.
Right. Whatever, get in the car. We're going.
Exactly. And 50 people, I mean, really. And we would all rent cabins in the They were called the Wolf Cabins, oddly enough, in the Wawona Basin. And Mother brought a brisket conceived when I was Rock of Gibraltar. Several presidents were crawling in. I just realized they made potato chip. Anyway, never talk about chip beef. Anyway, and so we were.
So wait, your mom would bring a brisket camping?
Well, it was a cabin. It was Jewish cabin.
Oh, okay, that's right. I love this story. Keep going.
And I brought asparagus, and I said, Mom, they're done. She said, no, they're not. I said, Mom, they're done. She said, no, they're not. I said, Mom,
They're still color.
I get paid. So I took them off. I rinsed them under cold water. I put them out. And my father ate asparagus for the first time in 20 years, and Mom didn't talk to me for 3 days.
Because you did them al dente or like
She
really.
was trying to achieve that wonderful gray. It just came from a can of asparagus quality. You know what I mean? Bless her heart. But she was wonderful. She was very talented and very creative. And I got that from her.
Got it.
That you can make things look wonderful. Just add some flowers.
Yeah, no, and I like. I had no idea that your mom was a musician and your dad owned a hardware store.
My mother, when I was 11 years old, my dad didn't own anything.
Oh,
No, he worked in hardware.
Worked in
stores.
hardware stores.
It's sometimes 3 of them.
Okay.
I mean, he worked really, really hard. He was definitely, somebody on a plane once said to me, "Oh, you're petty bourgeois blue collar." Okay, and that means I have a nice sweater and I sweep up. I mean, what? Isn't that great?
You're like, thanks.
Hey,
Yes. Okay.
Anyway, they were very dear, and I have an older brother, and who went to college very early, very smart guy, and he's now a lawyer living in Santa Fe. But I wanted to move to San Francisco, and as a kid, Mom cooked things until they were great, but I knew what peak season was because Dad waited till watermelons were 4 cents a pound. And we had an apricot tree, we had a
great.
tangerine tree,
Oh, yeah.
we had Meyer lemons by the back door.
yeah.
So I knew what fresh food. We were surrounded by lemon groves and orange groves when I was very young,
Right.
And then houses, the rest of the time.
Yeah,
But
Southern California story.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, I had some sense of it, and my grandparents. My grandmother and grandfather were immigrants, so they'd buy a place and fix it up and sell it. And I mean, I remember La Crescenta, and behind the house, there was this low fence, and behind that, there were vineyards my grandfather planted. They would buy a place in the Hollywood Hills, a pink stucco, and there was, this is my formative years, it was terraced, and he would plant fruit trees.
All right.
And I remember vividly, I was maybe 9 or 10, and it was a deer had come down, and the deer was on the upper next terrace, eating a nectarine off the tree.
Yes.
And I said to my Grandpa, he's eating and my grandfather turned to me and said, somebody has to eat it. I mean, that's how I feel about food.
That was very good.
Share with the animal.
Right.
And friends, and it's all for all of us.
So he didn't grab the hunting rifle and go, it's venison.
The jerky was great.
Let me ask you this, because you've got this long pedigree and quite a convoluted history of food and stuff like that. But you know a lot about food because you're not yourself like a big chef. You're like a passionate person about food. Is that accurate?
There's something else entirely. Excuse me. It's modesty. I'm coughing. Hold on.
So I don't want to talk about myself.
It makes me choke up.
Yeah, jeez.
It makes me so emotional. No. First of all, a lot of chefs call me chef. I know a lot more about food than a lot of chefs do because they know about cooking. I'm more interested in food. And I also was a fancy grocer. I'm an ingredient guy.
Yeah, I would say you're like you are into food, but also the culture and the stories and the histories and the uses of it, it seems. That's what I've
I
gathered.
helped Dr. Marion Nessel at NYU in 1996 develop and launch the country's first food studies program where you can get a BS, a master's, or a PhD, and you study everything from history, culture, sensory evaluation, biology, chemistry, economics, international relations, all of that through a prism. It's liberal arts and sciences. It's through food. It's everything.
Because food's not just food.
Food is not just food.
Right.
Food is absolutely everything, and everything is absolutely food. And so I was only able to go to San Francisco State University and get a BA in English literature and learn how to learn and learn how to articulate, learn how to share those things.
Wait. You have a degree in English?
Yeah.
No wonder why you and I are both useless.
Yeah,
Look at us.
We are employable because we can figure out what the heck
We can do anything.
what it says on the side of the box and why it's there. No, after the last crash, I was lucky. I was in New York in '87. That was my first crash, and I was working for the Tisch family, Lowe's Hotels, the Giants, Lorillard, CBS, right? And I asked Preston Robert Tisch, who had been the Postmaster General of the United States, how long is this recovery going to take? He said at least 10 years. So I got to learn, and I was also a young guy on my way up. So every time there was a crash until 2008, my career was still building and building.
Right,
and I
right.
got to see all of this. So, I mean, I'm first generation American. I'm gay. I'm not going to have kids. I have to do whatever I'm going to do now. And it turns out I've done a series with the NYU Library, the Marion Nestle Food Studies Collection at the Bobst Library in the Fales Rare Books and Collections section. That's fun to say.
Wow.
It's called Critical Topics in Food.
Okay.
And it turns out this spring will be 20 years I've been doing it. It turns out that the program is now 30 years old. And so I have an academic, semi-academic.
No, you do.
I'm a consultant. That's what I am. I'm a food-related consultant.
Okay, I like the way to put the consultant wraps up so many different things.
It does.
And it
It
allows
means
you a
I
lot
help
of-
people.
Well, that's okay. So you've gone a bunch of different places. I had a bunch of questions, but now we've gone everywhere. You mentioned back in New York that study, the long name you just said,
NYU.
third floor, take a left.
Yeah, Fales Rare Books and Collections, right. It
But
was.
here in Sonoma Valley, you're involved with someone called MFK Fisher's Last House.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what that is for people who don't know who MFK Fisher was?
Well, first of all, MFK Fisher continues to be one of the most important names in writing, much less food writing, in the world. Something like close to 30 of her books are still in print in various languages all over
amazing.
the world. Yeah. And she spent the last 20 or so years of her life on what is now called the Bouverie Preserve. David Bouverie had this property, and they were friends, and he built her a house. And for years, we all thought it was MFK Fisher's last house because it was the last place she lived. She had lived in St. Helena. She had lived in the south of France. She wrote about her life. She was a memoirist, brilliant writer, but all of it has food because all of it has life, and life has food, and it, very connected. And she was the kind of the model for people like Ruth Reichl, who writes about her own life in terms of food. Turns out it's called Last House because it was David Bouverie's last house that he designed. I didn't like that.
This is my last house. I'm
But
done.
the Audubon Canyon Ranch now takes care of that property, does scientific studies, burns lions, and they maintain that house. And for the last 5, this is our 6th year, we've done something called the MFK Fisher Last House Emerging Writers Contest.
Okay.
So if you're a kid or a youth or an adult that has not been published professionally, you can take our theme, and this year it's going to be water, which is kind of wonderful.
Okay, apropos.
And write, if you're a kid, I think it's 350 words, and if you're an adult, up to 750.
Okay.
And we have wonderful judges. Alice Waters has been a judge. Mary Nestle from NYU has been a judge. MFK Fisher's daughter, Kennedy Golden, is always a judge.
Okay.
So we have wonderful people, and it's a way to bring attention to what's here. That the Sonoma Valley is a very precious place. It's a very beautiful place. And it was Sarah Lee Kunde, who is one of my favorite people also in history, came from the McClellan family, which is, you may have heard of them, and the Kundes, and the big time names and people
In the
who
ag
do
industry here.
well, and also who do really important little things that are huge.
I love what Sarah Lee, she's since passed for people who don't know, but like just the whole dedication to FFA and the 4-H and getting people involved
And the real deal. When she was dying of cancer, I was helping with the one of the big Harvest Awards. I remember getting up and saying to 800 wine farmers, "Hi, my name is Clark Wolf, and I'll be your designated driver." Because when you bring a bunch of wine growers, farmers out late at night, and you put wine bottles, and they're all shy. It was kind of goofy. But she was texting me from her hospital bed. We could do this and we could do that, and I just was so moved by the love that woman.
it's that dedication.
Yeah, and also the example she set.
Do you think Sonoma County is unique in that there is that dedication to food here, or can that be found anywhere, or what is with this place?
There are, to use Alice Waters' words, this place is more than the sum of its parts. Okay. We have some things here. I like Sonoma County because, quite frankly, it does represent to me a microcosm of the United States. There is so much richness and diversity, and it's a very conservative place and a very liberal place and a very creative place and a very stuck in the mud place. And all those are good things.
Right.
But somehow we do a better job here. I mean, I love Measure J bringing Republicans and Democrats together for the first time.
I never thought that was kind of funny seeing the Farm Bureau and then the super liberal lefties all coming together.
The Farm Bureau has evolved a lot. Yeah. For a long time they were just an insurance company, and they did things that they thought were good. It turns out that farmers learn and teach really well.
Right.
And our farmers, Clover, Strauss, all these people. Valley Ford, they have really understood that embracing doing it a better way is just smart. That's what Luther Burbank did. He believed in sizing up, but he was an environmentalist too. Our egg farmers, our chicken farmers, all those people in Petaluma who had more money in the bank in the 1930s than any place else on earth,
Right.
know how to do it larger and multiple times, but without killing everybody,
Like sustainably.
without ruining it,
Because they probably, and that's a whole different story from Petaluma, Chickaluma, as sometimes we call it, because there were these refugee farmers that came to, from Eastern Europe, I believe, who came to Petaluma to open chicken farms and egg farms, essentially. And that was a huge part of, when you get to World War II, a huge part of the protein going out to Pacific Theater came from Petaluma egg farms.
The first time when I lived in California for 30 years, almost 30 years, and then moved to New York, I had never really wanted to go to Hawaii. Because I lived in Southern California, it was subtropical.
Why would you go to Hawaii?
Exactly.
Come on.
I moved to New York City. Let's go to Hawaii. And I get to Maui.
Right.
And what do I see there? Foods from Up Island and Sonoma County.
See?
And that was it. And it was Laura Chanel, who was a dear friend and who came to visit me in New York City, who said to me, Napa's really great. Sonoma's very special. It's something else. It's a sensibility. It's a collection of experiences that are no place else in the world. I mean, people say, so I understand you're north of San Francisco. And I laughed at them. I said, are you kidding? We're in the middle, surrounded by Mendocino, Napa, Marin County, and the Pacific freaking Ocean. Thank you very much.
You're like, period, done. Clark, I'm going to send you something else here. This is Heather Irwin does an article of Sonoma County's best new restaurants. She did this in Sonoma Magazine.
I was just there.
And she kind of listed some of them. I think you mentioned, the more Asian cuisine coming to Sonoma County.
Yeah, when I first lived here, and again, things evolve. It's 25 years last October. By the way,
We still haven't recovered the entire county.
Well, what happened was we pulled up to the then one stoplight in Guerneville. It was 11 o'clock at night. We stopped at the red light. Some guy turned around and mooned us. And I said to my partner, welcome to Guerneville.
This is the place.
I live in a 100-year-old logger's cabin. It's 120 years now.
Yeah.
And I love it. And I lived in New York. I went back and forth for 25 years. But when the pandemic hit, I said, I have to stay here. And a lot of the first period of time I lived here, I really only preferred to focus on restaurants that cooked local food.
Right.
And farm to table, very much in the style of Sonoma County and very simple and very straightforward to the table. As time has evolved and things have gotten more and more complicated and difficult, acknowledging other backgrounds and cultures has been really wonderful. We used to have really bad Chinese food here.
Yeah.
We are starting to get some really wonderful Asian food.
We are.
I mean, Hana sushi has always been extraordinary. Let's be honest. And Sitai in Montgomery Village is excellent stuff. But this basso is wonderful.
It's in Forestville? Is that what it is?
It's in Forestville. Okay. The new culinary mecca of the universe.
Is Forestville?
Oh, my God. Yeah. Sonoma Pizza Company makes some of the best pizza I've ever had.
Really?
And then what is the name of the there's a bakery across the street that I can't remember the name of.
The Nightingale Bread, is she still there? Okay,
with a line out the door.
Yeah.
There's a wonderful ice cream place that's also in Petaluma. And then Bazaar Sonoma or Basso.
Basso. That's where a Bazaar
it's
Sonoma.
The old backyard spot.
Oh, it's the old backyard. Oh, that's a very Sonoma thing you just did there.
Yeah.
You give someone directions to something that's no longer there.
That's right.
So well done.
That's right.
Almost on every podcast, someone does that.
Yeah, well, almost in every time the newspaper prints, the PD. Listen, I have never seen a community that will put a thing saying, we want to sell our business. And it's a feature story in the newspaper about people wanting to sell their business or move or find a new place. It's important.
But you know what's funny? We cover restaurants and food here. We're not a big place. But people cover it here, like the financial pages in New York.
Well, first of all, we're smaller than people realize. It's less than 500,000 people. But people from all over the world want to come here.
But Clark, how many food writers do we have? Heather Irwin, Carrie Sweet, Diane Peterson, you.
Diane Peterson's retired.
I know, but she's still.
Well, we actually have more than a lot of places.
Kathleen Hill, who does stuff here.
Well, exactly. Michelle Anna Jordan.
Exactly.
Look, John Ash. Have you heard of him?
No Chill Mustafa, who's like doing stuff online and with TikTok videos. Like people come here and they love to talk about the food because here it's like our sports pages.
Well, it's I hope not, because nobody wins and nobody loses.
Well, okay,
but we do get, and I have so many other things I'm not going to say. I realize this is not broadcast, but still, there's some things, Clark, you just don't.
Yeah, Clark, don't make me use the beat button.
Anyway, but we care about that stuff because we are in farm country with an ex-urban sensibility with a long history and a dedicated history.
Well, I like that. Like I think you hit a neat point there that we do have the farm to table. We are kind of, I don't want to say we're the birthplace of that because every place was farm to table 150 years ago.
There you go.
But we kind of kept that, and especially the producers are here.
Well,
We do know
I call them makers or cheese makers or bread bakers or farmers. The difference is that we actually have more wineries, registered wineries than Napa, but it's a much bigger place here.
Right.
Napa got very international and corporate, and I feel like Napa's restaurants are a restaurant neighborhood of San Francisco.
Yeah.
Whereas Sonoma County is really its own place with its own set of histories. And yeah, we really care about this stuff. We have a lot of festivals in every town. We're just goofy that way. This is my opportunity to say, folks, please call it a crab feast or a crab festival. If you call it a crab feed, it sounds like there's a trough involved. And frankly, there isn't enough crab in the whole wide world.
Julie Peteroncelli, thank you. You called this out on Facebook when I asked what to interview Clark with.
I will
because she goes, ask him if it's a crab feed or is it a crab feast. Julie,
I tell you, there you go. And I have to tell you that Kendall Jackson's calling it a feast.
Are they?
We're making our inroads, and they're pretty big.
Real quick, tell me what a crab feast is for people who don't know what a crab feast is and what kind of crab are they eating?
They're eating Dungeness crab. It's off our coast. It has to be a certain size. We're only at 50%. It used to start in November. We would have it for Thanksgiving. There are whales out there. We don't want to kill them.
Oh, whales.
And as we're learning how to have traps that don't kill whales, we're postponing it until the whales move on.
Got it.
And we're very thoughtful. We really want to support our fishermen, fisher folk, because they do some great stuff. The black cod thing that they
had
did
the black
last fall,
cod
I love
week.
that. And that's great food.
Yeah.
So Dungeness crab, again, I like to have it very simply, the way I did on the newspaper in San Francisco.
with a mallet and a lemon
mallet.
and
Nobody,
butter.
Nobody ever took any from me because I had a mallet. Defend your anyway. A feast is when and
so it's a big group of
it's
people.
like a lobster boil or a crab boil. It's like when we have a lot at we celebrate the season and the bounty together, almost always for a community cause,
Often
for a
at the
church or a
fundraiser,
Rotary or some
4-H
organization
or something. Yep.
Yeah, and the only thing I want to say is again, let's feast. I'm okay with that.
Okay, you don't want to feed,
but let's not feed.
You don't want like a trough of crab. And then I have my hands behind my back, and there's like butter pouring down. This is like a bad AI video.
You would actually hurt your gums.
And Dungeness crab is funny because cooking and not cooking, but cleaning it does require some amount of skill. So it slows you down because otherwise you'd just be mad.
What it requires is a long, skinny crab fork.
Correct.
Pick.
Right.
And I was just at the Handline with a dear friend. I have Dungeness crab once or twice a season. It's very rich.
Yeah.
And they have it there, and it's just a half a crab with drawn butter and lemon wedges, and you know what I mean, and an aioli, which is basically garlic mayonnaise with an accent, and it's on a tray, and you can make a mess. But what I tend to do is I eat Dungeness crab the way I eat pomegranates. I pull out all the little things because it's a pain in the neck, and make a big pile, and then scarf it. Traditionally, I would have it with my friend Tammy, and Tammy, by the way, Tammy Fraser is the person who brought me to Last House the first time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I'm bummed.
Everything's got a circle. Right.
Exactly. To Audubon Canyon Ranch Christmas party. But I have it sometimes. She used to have a fisherman bring some, and we would have it with sourdough bread, some mayonnaise, or Louis dressing of James Beard recipe, and slices of avocado, and just the crab with a little bit of lemon on it. And, it's just
Super
the best
good.
thing ever.
And the San Francisco style, you always have a sourdough loaf there if you want to kind of just dip that thing.
Yeah,
in there.
exactly.
Or do it. I love crab feasts.
Very good. Very good.
I almost said it
That was
wrong.
a careful landing.
Yeah. And I do love the fact that, as you pointed out, almost every charity has one. So it's not only a chance to support our local fishery, but you're oftentimes supporting like the food pantry or the Pets Lifeline or something that's for a good cause.
And honestly, what I like about it is it's really good, delicious, wonderful, natural food.
It is.
I'm not wild about having all these fairs and festivals around the country where the food is terrible. You know what I mean? Deep fried butter is not coming to my house.
Clark Wolf's hot take. Not a big fan of crappy food festivals.
Well, exactly. But you'd be surprised people are. People are saying, "Oh my God, it's terrible. I love it." You know what I mean? I really do not want let's see, what can I say? A string of Oreo cookie cheese fondue. No, bad.
Sometimes too much is too much.
But what I like about it is that it's celebrating a harvest.
Right.
What I like about it, I mean, live here because of the peaches and the strawberries. I was here writing this book about cheese called American Cheeses for Simon and Schuster, and we were supposed to go to the French Laundry in the Napa Valley for lunch, and we were late because we were talking to a cheesemaker. And Thomas Keller said, "I'm sorry, I don't have 4 hours. I can't cook for you.
Right.
Here's a glass of champagne. Go away." So I said to Scott, my business partner who was taking the photographs, "You want to go over the hill and see where I used to run amok in the 70s?"
Oh, nice.
And we went to a farmer's market, and I met Nancy Skull, who was from Middleton Gardens, Middleton Farms. She was raising French strawberries that melted in your face.
The little tiny guys.
Not just the tiny guys. She did those too, but the slightly larger guys.
Okay.
And Gourmet Magazine, when they came out later to write about it, all of us, the pull quote from Francis Lamb was, "With flavor to which candy aspires."
Wow.
Well, you know what I like about Sonoma County? The food here is benchmark.
Yeah.
Gravenstein apples are what an apple ought to be. I'm a huge supporter and activist for the Gravenstein Apple Fair and farm trails and all of that. I have been doing panels for Life on the Farm section for the last 10 years, I think. Last year we had Alice Waters and Albert Strauss, and it was just kind of so I do all the things I do, but what's interesting is that a lot of times I'll do what I really love.
Right.
And then it'll turn out to be useful for my work, and it's not the other way.
Good.
In other words, although I can apply a lot of things I learn in business to other things that I do, I feel drawn to certain things, and then it turns out
And
they're
then
really
it works out for you. In the end.
if it's nature, it's going to be useful.
Right. You've not too bad for a
How's that for
LA
a
kid
headline?
English major. I'm telling you. I have another question for you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I'm on the podcast. I'm throwing something at you. This is a woman. She works at a local farmers market here.
Yep.
She lives here in Sonoma. Sam Payon. She ferments stuff.
Yep.
And she's like looking to, start a TV show. It's called
Yep.
Jarring Everything. What if you were a small producer? If you were a college kid with potato chips, or a farmer's market chef with fermenting, what kind of advice do you give to somebody that's like looking to get their word out and let people notice them?
Well, be careful about TikTok. It may go away. But, I mean, what you have to remember is that with the diversification of publication comes mediocrity. So more people have a chance, and more of it's lousy. So what you have to do is be something real. It's got to really resonate on whatever level it is. I mean, jarring pickles.
Yeah.
You know, I would buy something called jarring pickles.
Yeah, she's really good at fermenting stuff when you go there.
And fermenting is really big here. Doing classes at some of the culinary schools.
We had a fermentation festival.
We have had that as well. One of the other things that's really important about Sonoma County is that our wineries were the first. I mean, in the Napa Valley, there were associations and there were private dinners. And even Shandong had the restaurant.
Right.
But Sonoma, and frankly, St. Francis, right here, is the first to be able to be Open Table's #1 restaurant that year.
Doesn't that blow your mind?
No, I love it. Well, that was Steve. That was Steve Silva. That was a real heart.
Right.
That was a real. That was saying, wait a second, we're going to grow fresh produce out by the side of the road where you were supposed to.
Right there.
And we're going to make meals for people and taste for people at the most wonderful level and pair our wines with them. And you're going to get to come here and eat and drink as you should. And frankly, that's a big part of the future because it all goes together with all that's going on. Partnerships are very important. And for too long, and certainly when I first got here, food was too often used as a kind of filler at wine tastings. It really pissed me off. Right. You know, you got to get something to sop it up.
Here's some breadsticks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or cubed cheese, which is illegal in 15 countries. No, I'm kidding. So I think she's got a real future.
Right.
I like the fact that it's kind of a homespun look to the bottles and jars.
Yeah.
And she looks wonderful, but you got to do it. And the other thing I will say is farmers markets really do work because people who care go to farmers markets. And I've learned more things and found more people at farmers markets than anywhere else on earth. And you also get to talk to people. Yeah. You never know who you're going to meet.
Yeah. No, you know what? That's actually a really good insight.
And then your son can drop it off with the potato chips.
Anytime. I tell you, the farmers markets really worked for him because during, as we mentioned, during COVID, there weren't really a lot of jobs. He was 15. He was done with school by like 11 because he's a pretty smart kid. So it was essentially like going to the farmers markets afterwards and working outside and learning about food. And burning off a little bit of energy.
Well, and during the pandemic, the Sebastopol Farmers Market did something great, and they had a website, and you could pre-order stuff and drive by, open your window with your mask on, and say, "I'm Clark," and they would bring you a bag or a box, and they'd throw it in the back seat.
We could do a whole other podcast about the Sebastopol Farmers Market because that's where we used to work. The Sunday one.
I love it.
And he would come back with stories. So the guy that wears the butterfly wings, a man with a tuba that would walk around, and the drum circle that pops up.
And the drum circle, and they just, by the way, the Sebastopol Farmers Market just got right with the town.
Yeah.
They figured it out. Every farmers market needs to be right with their town on a regular basis.
They do.
And look, Paula Downing, who was one of the great people ever, who used to work in law firms, ran the original certified farmers market at the Luther Burbank, various places it's been, and ran the one in Sebastopol. And when she passed, or when she retired and then passed, new people have to do new things. Farmers do retire. They do stop doing things. You know what I mean? And so we're getting some new farmers.
No, we're seeing a lot of younger farmers.
And you know where they're from?
What?
The Midwest. They grow up saying, "I want to be a farmer." Then they find out there isn't any.
Yeah.
There's no place to farm in the Midwest. So they're coming out here, and they're really talented and dedicated.
Yeah.
Now let's see if they're making it through the winter. I just met two women who, they have a farm called Winter Sister Farm.
Okay.
They focus on winter vegetables.
Also, the leeks and the brassicas and stuff like that.
Leek is a little bit big. It's okay. I like them a little smaller. Just don't forget to clean it carefully because
Insides.
it gets dirty.
That's it's organic.
It's organic, but you don't want to eat it.
A little bit of gristle.
You don't want to eat it. Shouldn't crunch.
So I just like that the farmers markets are probably the farmers markets.
Yeah.
We also have a Tuesday night market here, which is great. There's probably a vegetable, lots of music, lots of fun.
The evening markets. Occidental actually is the only farmers market in the evening that is really
That's
a
legit.
place to see old hippies dancing. But it also
As
has
we
great
want to
produce.
see, we all want to see that.
Some of them just move up and down very slowly. It's really wonderful.
But what I do love about this area is the farmers markets are legit. The farmers are passionate.
Yeah.
I often talk about Jimmy the Pumpkin Guy because he will talk your ear off about pumpkins.
Yeah.
And he's wonderful. And he wears a kilt. So how
How
go
bad
wrong
could
with that?
Drafty.
Here's a question I have for you.
Yeah,
This
please.
one. Clark,
Yes.
is a celebrity chef just a cook with a public relations firm?
First of all, any term like that is not simple,
Okay.
right? Any term like that is not simple. Some celebrity chefs are just in the right place at the right time. Some celebrity chefs actually do a lot of really important stuff and are wonderful and become well known for it. It's really evolved over time. I'll never forget. I did a panel on the ups and downs and the pluses and minuses of celebrity chefdom. And this is for the San Francisco Professional Food Society in Oakland. We all got together at the harbor there, whatever it's called.
Jack London Square?
Yeah, there you go. And Jonathan Gold, the country's only Pulitzer Prize winning, not only, first food writer to get a Pulitzer Prize,
You know that?
doesn't like airplanes. I asked him to be on the panel, so he drove up from Southern California.
Okay, that's not so bad.
In a tweed suit in the car, and he looked like an out-of-work Viking. He had long, stringy red hair and all that other stuff. Anyway, Tyler Florence had promised to be there. We moved the date twice to accommodate him, and then he didn't show.
Tyler.
Yeah, he didn't
calling
show.
him out right now.
He didn't show.
Okay.
So I put a chair in front, and every once in a while I'd ask the chair a question and say, "Oh, I forgot." It was really fun. But every one of them is different. They do grow up. Sometimes they make mistakes. Fame is a weird thing.
It is. It's sort of weird. Like now, it seems like anyone wants to be a celebrity chef, and I'm not saying it in a bad way, but it's like you're a chef, and that should. I don't know. It just seems like we throw a lot more onto a chef once they become a supposed celebrity chef versus this is a really cool person like Jose Andres does cool stuff and feeds the world or something like that or whoever. I don't know.
All right. So first of all, Jose is another category entirely. Jose was very famous on television in Spain before he ever got here. And he told that orange-faced blowhard to piss off successfully.
Right.
Anyway, I'm emotional about the whole thing. Or maybe it's the enchiladas. Anyway, but every single one is different. Right. I mean, Thomas Keller has been a beacon of a certain kind of French-American style chefdom, and he has promoted young people internationally.
Right.
That's been his passion,
Right.
and he's incredibly well known. Anthony Bourdain is another animal.
Right.
I was not a fan. I understand the value. He brought things forward.
Right.
But Kitchen Confidential should have been a cautionary tale, not a career path. And he later admitted that.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. When you read Kitchen Confidential, I read that after I was an English major working in kitchens. I'm like, oh, I know a lot of these characters.
Yeah.
And a lot of them
Some
ended
of it was
poorly.
true.
Oh yeah, some of it was true. It was
Some
a good
of it
story.
was true.
It was a good story.
And I was in a documentary about Jeremiah Tower, who was one of the early chefs at Chez Panisse, produced by Anthony Bourdain.
Oh.
And I know for a fact, first of all, I'll tell you two things. One, I know for a fact that the facts are not that important to him.
Right.
A good story is everything.
Good stories.
But you know what? That was true of MFK Fisher, too. She made stuff up because it was a better story. They are storytellers. If you understand that,
Right.
then you're cool. You know what I mean? Then you understand.
Well, and that goes back to like what you're saying. It's food. You have cookbook writers do A, B, C, and D, and E will happen, and then you have food writers who are like, this is the culture, history, story, fun part of food.
But if anybody can write about anything, which
Right.
is the case right now, you better check your sources. I mean, the bylines are important again because you can Google a recipe and it can kill your dog. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's hey, Clark. Why? How come there's no recipes online? There's recipes anymore. Why are there long stories in front of recipes?
Well, there always have been. Those are called headers, and actually it gives you context. I mean, usually in the Press Democrat. By the way, I have to say Jennifer Grau is really one of my favorite food writers anywhere at the Press Democrat. She tells a story. When I interviewed her when she first got here, I asked her what she intended to do, and she said she intended to talk about what was really going on and happening through the stories of individual people. And that's really Sonoma County, and that's really what she's done, and that's really what interests me.
Okay. Okay. So I'm not grumpy anymore. Jesus.
Yeah, you are.
You have to answer questions, by the way, from visitors because this. I'm letting this go a little longer because you're good, and my son interrupted us, and hopefully you have time here and stuff like that. But I apologize. But oftentimes you hear about people talking about authentic food. You know, like this food is authentic, that food's not authentic. Is anything ever really authentic? Because isn't food like sort of like part of culture, which becomes like it's syncretic, right? Like we borrow, we move things around, and the example is like the capsicum pepper, the hot spicy pepper. Came from the New World, went to Asia, and now you think about Szechuan cooking, but that came from South America or something.
I think,
what's that authenticity thing?
I think authentic has to do with context and time. So if you say this is an authentic 20th century hamburger, that's fine. It has a place and a time. And I mean, we have to remember, and as I was growing up, learning that tomatoes, came from Central America and went across, and that all the pasta that's really good in Italy comes from the North Dakota semolina, and that
Right.
So the world has really gotten creative. There was a time when the word authentic was meant to control things. Was meant to say this is right. That being said, if you get 30 people in a room in Italy to talk about food, they will argue endlessly over the nuance of one tiny detail.
Okay.
If you get 30 Americans in the room, halfway into the conversation, half of them will leave to start a company. So it's all relative. Do you know what I mean? It's all really relative.
Right.
Authentic to the context, to the place and time.
Okay, I like that. That's fair. I like that because I know like when we all became food critics once Yelp came out and stuff like that. Authentic was this like it's not authentic.
First of all, if it's printed on Yelp, wash it off.
Yeah, exactly. Watch out for that.
That's what I used to say. If it rose in Manhattan, wash it off.
Watch out. What are some things that you think are on their way out, and what are some things that are coming back? Like is like the chocolate lava cake back that went out from the 90s or something like that? Are there certain food trends that are
Well, all right. So first of all, when the economy is really good, we try everything until it's stupid.
Well,
You know what I mean? If you look at restaurants, when the economy is really high, restaurants tend to be very feminine and very strange and very weird and very over-designed.
Is that how we get foams?
Exactly. And there's a point at which they've tried everything except ugly, and then they try that. And when things are rough, we get a little bit more solid and a little bit more traditional. After the pandemic, certainly we wanted comforting kinds of foods. We're in a period of time where there are a lot of forces at play, and not all of them are cultural trends. Some of them are actually the result of economics. I mean, the point is that if there are tariffs and it costs 25% more to have coffee beans come here that are getting more and more expensive anyway because of climate change, then, I mean, Starbucks just cut out 30 different permutations.
Yeah, they went down to simple. They're like,
exactly.
we're going back to.
So but simple can be dangerous too. Simple can be the Hudson News of food. What can we make a lot of money on and not sell too many of, right? Exactly. There'll always be a place for the very most rarefied and refined.
Right.
And there'll always be a place for the simplest. Usually the richest people in the world want really simple food that's really good, usually grown by the simplest, poorest people who also like that food.
Interesting. All right, that's a good take. I like that.
That does not answer your question.
It's like true fashion, true pundit fashion.
There you go.
It was good.
go.
I like that.
Exactly.
Okay, that was good. That was that. My final question, and then we're going to help me answer questions from visitors.
Oh, yeah.
What makes California cuisine? And is there such a thing? And is there a difference between like North and South, or what is California cuisine?
Well, the short version is we take great ingredients and we don't muck them up.
Okay.
And that's the short version. Okay. My friend Marion Burroughs, who wrote for the New York Times for 25 years, is the person who caused that. Oh. She came to California in 1981. She came to the Oakville Grocery to meet me and other people and to taste all this stuff. Right. She was from the New York Times.
Ooh, fancy.
I said, come on Sunday at 12:30. We open at 12. I'll clean up in the morning. She came at 11. I made her sit on my desk and drink a cappuccino. And she walked in and she said, well, why would I like this? And I was like, oh, God. Right?
Like, I'm not ready yet, lady.
And then she goes, so what do you do with tofu? And I turned to her and I said with a straight face, nothing in public. So we were fast friends. She's 92. We're still really close friends. I went to New York to pitch the Oakville Grocery at Bloomingdale's for the California Food Promotion.
Oh, okay.
Right? And they said at the last minute, you can't come because Imelda Marcos is going to be here for the Philippine promotion, and there's going to be a demonstration in the street. And I said, okay. And then it turns out Marion had printed the first part of an article, and we were nothing in it. She used my ideas, she used my resources, nothing about the Oakville Grocery. The second one came out that Wednesday morning when I was in New York, having been turned down by Bloomingdale's. I was 30% of a story in the food section of the New York Times.
Really?
They called and said, we could figure it out. So there I am in Bloomingdale's. There's Imelda Marcos and her shoes and her puffy sleeves and a merchandise VP and a security guard. And I had one of the...
Clark. Yeah.
So for me, California food is a sensibility. It's very similar to the south of France because of our sensibilities. Okay. Southern California food, of course, has really wonderful Mexican influences. Right. But it really is from the earth and from the ocean. Okay. And it's from the heart.
Okay. I like that. Well done. Also a good answer.
Also a good answer.
Ready for this? Clark.
Oh, yes.
Every one of my podcast guests has to come on and do this next thing. So you ready? Okay.
Happy.
So as you know, we have 2 visitor centers.
Yep.
People call us, they text us, they go through Facebook, they do whatever it is. You're going to help me in a section we call We Get Questions.
Okay.
Here we go. First question we got. I'm visiting Sonoma, and I anticipate that I will be buying some wine to bring home.
Yep.
I know most of the wineries offer shipping of their bottles. However, I will likely buy 1 or 2 bottles each from a few different wineries. And I was wondering if there is a service in town where I can take the bottles to be packaged and shipped back to my home.
Actually, I think there are. I think there are a number of different shipping centers, and like you'll see it's FedEx on the side, or we ship your thing. Just Google shipping centers, and they have these wonderful packing things where you can have 6 bottles or 12 bottles, and you have to make sure that it's legal to the state you're going to. You have to always make sure of that because, and if you're not sure, they won't do it because it's not your job to endanger somebody locally.
Right.
And the other thing is that do a little homework. You may end up visiting 3 wineries that are family run or family created that are all owned by the same large company, and they will put it together for you. So do a little extra homework, but I think that's a wonderful thing to do. Also, 1 bottle of wine, buy a case.
Join the wine club.
Come
Jeez.
on. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And I think wine shipping is important because we have interesting laws here in the United States. You can't ship alcohol for some reason across state lines, depending on the state, blah, 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 federal system.
Well, you know what that was from? That was from bootlegging.
Yes, a prohibition holdover. Right?
Exactly. And the Seagram's family, oddly, pioneered both the bootlegging
good for them.
And the distribution of fine liquor. Anyway, go ahead.
That's how you make a fortune.
There you go.
But yeah, you can look for wine shippers. Just make sure that you tell them you're shipping wine so they don't get in trouble.
And you make sure you tell them where you're shipping.
Yes.
And what you've bought. Just be completely transparent. Don't try to be clever.
Right.
All right. And, drink it in the parking lot of the airport.
There you go. Okay. Well done. Beyond wine and wine grapes, what food or produce is Sonoma County identified with?
Well, goat cheese, raw milk cheeses, fine cheeses. Go to Valley Ford. Oh my gosh,
a lot of cheese.
Valley Ford Creamery is really wonderful. Yeah. Laura Chanel goat cheese. Marin French is down the road, but it's actually in Petaluma. Yeah. And Cowgirl Creamery. Okay. I mean, we have really world-class cheeses. Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that.
We also have some pretty good. I mean, I was at the Sonoma County Airport, and there was a vending machine for cured meats. I mean, where else in the world would you have charcuterie? And by the way, none of the prices are listed. You just press the button and put in your credit card and hope for the best.
Good luck.
Exactly.
That's like, go to gate 12. Honey, I got to get the prosciutto.
Yeah,
Hold
exactly.
on.
Wait a second.
I love that. I didn't know that.
Sell the bicycle. No, and the other thing I would say is that we have incredible bakers. We have incredible bakers here.
Yeah.
So, and depending on where you're going and how you're traveling,
Yeah.
our breads are wonderful. Wildflower Bakery. Oh my
good.
God, it's incredible.
On the farmer's market, baker and cook. Jen is the baker, the husband's the cook. She makes these fantastic. She calls them beignets. They're donut holes.
Yeah.
And they're so good, and they're gluten free.
Yeah.
If you're a gluten free person.
Well, all right. So
love
that's
them.
another thing is if you go to the farmers markets, you will find vegan and gluten free, really sensitive, thoughtful foods that are made here in Sonoma County that do not taste like packing material. That
true.
taste like real food. Many parts of this dish are edible.
It's true. But if you like packing peanut food, you can get that someplace else.
Crunchy.
Not in Sonoma. Here's someone actually came into the visitor center and they said, "Help! My bike tire is getting flat. Is there a pump nearby that I can use?"
Oh, everywhere. Oh my gosh. I mean, no, seriously, we have so many bike stores. I mean, if you go through, some people here in Sonoma County get crazy because by the side of the road, there are these lines. I prefer lines. I need to be between the lines.
Oh, yeah.
But if you see lines, a particular white line by the side of the road, that means that everything to the side of that is for the bicyclists.
Right.
And you leave them alone and you give them at least 3 feet if you can.
Correct.
On country roads. If you go to Sebastopol, it's even more complicated. And we're doing better at that. We're trying to
bike
be
lanes and stuff like
Amsterdam or something.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of bike shops here, and they're very, very good at it. And I mean, most gas stations will help you out.
You're absolutely right. We told the person, as a matter of fact, we said go to the bike shop. It's 2 blocks away. Also at our library here, there's a bike repair station.
I like that so much.
So yeah, you just bring your bike. They have like tools and stuff like that. They have a pump there. Go down to Sonoma Adventures. He rents bikes, but Hunt he always fixes my bike without even asking.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Hunt, can I pay you? Like, nah, they're right.
Right.
So you're right. That's funny. You know a lot about bikes, Clark.
Well, I mean, if you live, look, I've done, you know this because this is where we met. Yeah. I spent a lot of time taking tourism ambassadors around the county. Yeah. And I mean, I love this place. This is where I live. And, I've lived in my cabin longer than I've ever lived any place in my life.
Yeah.
It's the only place I've ever, I mean, I grew up in Southern California in my parents' $8,000 tract house. That is, worth a fortune now, but right. And I always felt like it was their house.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It never, I remember when I was going to move to San Francisco, my father said, "Why do you need to leave?" And I said, "So could I bring someone to spend the night in my room?" And he said, "No, you cannot." And I said, "Well, at my house I could. This must not be my house."
Dad's like, "No, you got me there, Clark." All right, here's the final question we got.
Yeah.
From the visitor center, someone walked in and said, "I'm feeling a bit hungry, but I don't need a full sit-down meal. Where are some good places for small bites or little dishes?"
Almost every taco truck. I mean, come on.
That's true.
I remember in one election they were threatening that there would be taco trucks on every corner, and I thought, oh my gosh, that should be your slogan.
That wasn't like, don't threaten me with a good time.
Exactly. No, but we also, again, this is the other trend I really wanted to mention.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people who have come out of 3-star Michelin or 2-star Michelin restaurants who don't want to do that anymore.
Right.
Who don't want to yell, "Yes, chef," at each other all the time. And they are taking these talents, Zoftig Eatery in Santa Rosa. Basso is another example of that. Troubadour in Healdsburg.
Right.
These are high-level chefs making sandwiches and salads, and they are to die.
And they love
so
it.
you can have a really good, simple meal. Standing around, sitting around, walking around, and there isn't a farmer's market that doesn't have great food.
They all do have good food, and absolutely. Also, some other quick ones here around the Plaza. If they were at the Plaza, we could say go to Tosca Tosca. It's Portuguese food. They have small plates there. You mentioned a taco truck. El Coyote is a taco truck. It's down by the high school, and it's really good down there. There's also a good little burger place called Little Lou's Luncheonette, which is a burger joint, and it's really fantastic. It's in a gas station just south of town there. Yeah,
I think we're going to see more of that. That's another trend. I think we're going to see more and more. Apparently, I think it was a Japanese company bought 7-Eleven.
Oh, okay.
And if you've ever been to Italy, you know that if you go on the highway, they have these little things over the highway where you can buy stuff to eat, and it's really good.
Oh, okay.
And in Japan, you can do that same kind of thing, and it's really excellent.
They have great 7-Elevens in Japan. I will tell you that. They are
Well,
amazing.
and I believe they bought the company. And I think what we're going to start seeing is convenience stores with better and better food. I mean, if you go to Vermont, oh my God, their gas stations have, jerky that somebody shot. You know what I mean? Venison jerky that somebody shot, and pies made by somebody's mom. And
Right. So it's like, it's not just as mass produced.
no, exactly. I mean, what we're doing is we're realizing that it is actually cost efficient if you have a family to buy food at the farmer's market that lasts longer. It has more nutrients. But if you're on your own, or if you're working so much that you don't have a lot of time to cook, having some quick meals is a really good idea, especially if it's simply made by local ingredient with local ingredients by nice people.
You did it. You answered all the questions.
Everyone,
You're a good job.
you need some more visitors. I need some more questions.
Clark, this is an hour. I mean, it's been great. You are wonderful. I know you want to go get to some cheese here pretty soon.
Well, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get to the Matos Cheese Factory before they close forever.
Today, right?
Forever. It closes today. Yeah.
Are you going to buy a 10-pound wheel?
I'm going to buy a 10-pound wheel. Hopefully they have an aged wheel and I may actually donate it to Northern California Public Media's third annual Food and Wine Awards. I'm hosting it again. I'm emceeing it again. This time it's going to be on May 10th, the day before Mother's Day.
Okay.
It's going to be at the Sonoma Country Day School.
Okay.
We're going to be honoring everybody from farmers and educators and chefs and people who are doing things. And it's a fundraiser for environmental reporting, which we need to have. And there's going to be a nice presentation where, again, I'm hosting, but previous winners are going to be presenting.
Oh, that'd be nice. Okay.
And Dan Cadan, who used to be at Backyard and now teaches at the Culinary Institute, is going to be doing the food. Yay!
And you're going to have possibly a 10-pound cheese wheel.
Yeah, they're not that
Matos.
big. They're not that big. No, that's
like a
Emmenthal.
50-pound.
Yeah. It's about like that.
I was trying.
It's about like that.
Clark, it's been wonderful having you on. Thank you for coming to this podcast. You are amazing. I know people can find you all places, but is there like a website or someplace people can find information about you and
It's
your
called
services?
ClarkWolfCompany.com. It had to be so simple I could remember it.
ClarkWolfCompany.com.
Clark like Superman and Wolf like the animal.
Okay. And company like a
Like all
association
spelled
of
out.
people.
Like all spelled out.
Okay. Got it. And then also just to give a quick plug, you're on the radio on
KFCB, and what I do is I do these short takes on persimmons or leftovers or something, and they're all through the week, 2 different ones every week. And then twice a month I do something called Savoring Sonoma, the Hour, where I have conversations about important things with individual people. And then on KSRO for the last 10 years, I've had At the Table with Clark Wolf at noon on Saturdays.
Okay.
And then I'm on with Steve Jackson on The Drive Thursday afternoons, usually in the 4 o'clock hour.
I feel like you just cannot turn on a radio without finding you. So this is wonderful. So
My favorite thing is to go to a farmer's market and have somebody pull on the back of my shirt and go, "Are you Clark? I heard your voice. Are those persimmons good?"
very good. Well, Clark, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Great to have you here. And then for everyone else, after you've gone to ClarkWolfCompany.com and you still want more information about Sonoma Valley, go to SonomaValley.com for deals, special offers, and events. We have a new campaign coming up, $15 Sonoma wine tastes, February 15th to March 15th. It's called Sonoma Sips. There's more information there. So, Mom and Dad, thanks for listening. Larry, hope you're doing well. Clark, thanks a lot.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for letting me be here.
Of course.